So Ed Davey, very good morning to you. As we were just discussing there, your party, the Labour Party, the SNP all want a general election, but you're not going to get one, are you?
Well, I agree with a lot of what Rob said, but also what a Conservative MP, Christopher Choate, said early on in your broadcast this morning. He said he wanted a general election, and I think you'll find that there are a number of Conservative MPs who, when they look themselves in the mirror, they'll realise what a shambles the Conservative Party is now, how divided it is, how incapable it is of governing our country. And I think they'll also recognise that they've got no mandate now. So Liberal Democrats have been saying, given Liz Truss trashed our economy with her unfunded tax cuts, Boris Johnson before her failed our country with his lies and his law-breaking, it really is time that the Conservatives were swept from power, and that requires a general election.
But the truth is that Tory MPs will look themselves in the mirror and think, I don't want to lose my seat.
Well, you're probably right. What I'm doing is calling on them to put the national interest first above their party interest. It's time they did their patriotic duty. Our country is in crisis. You know, we've got mortgage rates going up, energy bills, food bills, fuel bills. I talk to my constituents, you know, they're really, really fearful of this winter. There's going to be people going cold and hungry. There are millions of families who are struggling at the moment, pensioners, hundreds of thousands of businesses. And that's because of the Conservatives. They have failed our country in the most egregious, dreadful way. They don't deserve to lead our great country, and they should go. And, you know, again, as Rob, your correspondent, just said, they are so divided, they are incapable of providing the strong political stability, which is an essential prerequisite of getting the budget right, the economics right, so we can really help people and get our economy going.
Well, you said that, but there is a new Chancellor that's been installed, and wouldn't you say that he's brought some economic stability already, and we'll get a full outline of his fiscal statement in just over a week's time?
Well, only compared to what went before. We're still seeing a weak pound, we're still seeing higher interest rates, we're still seeing inflation, and to be honest, he's not doing the sorts of things that Liberal Democrats have argued for a long time. It was over a year ago now that Liberal Democrats and I put forward the case for a windfall tax on the record profits of oil and gas companies made because of President Putin killing innocent Ukrainians. Surely it's moral and fair and right to tax those huge profits so we can afford, in a responsible way, to help families and pensioners out there and business struggling with energy costs. That would be a fair approach, and we're not hearing that from the government.
I've just been shown a tweet by Jacob Rees-Mogg. He's just tweeted, "I'm backing Boris." What do you make of the possibility of a return by Boris Johnson?
Well, that would just be another terrible scandal from the Conservatives. Let's remember, Boris Johnson lied on an industrial scale. He broke the law. He failed to handle a sex abuse case in his own ranks properly. And it was Tory MPs who didn't have confidence in him, who got rid of him. I mean, they're all suffering from memory loss. Can they not remember what an absolute disaster Boris Johnson was? And I think it would be a scandal if they allowed him to stand, let alone voted for him.
Is it right that you've called for him to be barred from running? And if that's the case, isn't it up to Tories to decide who's their next leader?
Well, of course they can decide, but they should be judged by the British people about the decisions they make. Let us remember there is a privileged committee inquiry into whether Boris Johnson misled Parliament, the British people, at the dispatch box when he was Prime Minister. And many of us believe he did. And if he did, that is a resignation offence. It's a very serious offence. So what the Tories would be doing if they allow him to stand is creating yet more political instability, allowing someone with his track record to stand who, if he were to be elected, I just hope he can't be, it would be such a disaster, but if he were, he could then face being thrown out by a parliamentary committee findings in 2 or 3 months' time. Does that make sense? Our country is in peril. Do these Conservatives not realise that?
He of course, maintains he did nothing wrong and is confident that he'll be cleared in that, doesn't he? I mean, some people might say Liberal Democrats did quite well when Boris Johnson was Prime Minister. You won a few by-elections when he was the leader, didn't you?
Well, you're right. We did win a lot of by-elections in true blue heartlands. In Buckinghamshire, we beat the Tories. Chesham, Amersham, in North Shropshire, seat the Tories half of 200 years, and in Tifton and Honiton in East Devon, where we overturned a record majority. So you are right that we prospered. But, you know, what we're doing is putting the national interest above our own interest. We think it is right for Boris Johnson never to go back into number 10. And I would just urge Tory MPs to do likewise, do their patriotic duty for once. Put the national interest first. That means certainly not backing Boris Johnson and preferably having a general election.
Well, yes, but any new leader that comes in will be able to lay out their plans. Jeremy Hunt has set out already some of the direction of travel. And don't they have the right then? They'll have a majority in Parliament. They have a right to see out the last 2 years of this term, don't they?
Well, they can fail to listen to British people. They can fail to listen to their constituents. You're right in constitutional theory. They can go on till, I think it's January the 2025 they can go on to if they really want to. But think of what damage that will do to our country. I'm almost speechless that the Tories could be so outrageous when people are suffering at a level I've never seen before. I was just at the food bank in my constituency last week. They say the numbers going there have never been higher. And I think it's going to get worse for many people when they look at their mortgage costs. I was talking to a guy who runs a cafe near these studios earlier today. He was saying he couldn't get staff, his costs are going up, he's really worried about the future, he doesn't know how he's going to pay his mortgage. That's the reality. I don't see Tories apologising. I don't think they've got a plan. They are divided and shambolic. I've never known it so bad. And so for the interest of our country, for the interest of millions of people and hundreds of thousands of businesses, they have to go. And Liberal Democrats will keep making that case. And what we'll do also is we will put forward an alternative plan that is costed, that is responsible, and that is fair. You know, British people go out to work every day. They try their best. They bring up their kids. They look after and care for their relatives. They run their businesses. All they want is a fair deal from government, and they are not getting that fair deal from the Conservatives.
OK, so Ed Davey, we appreciate your time this morning. Thanks very much indeed for talking to us.
Thank you.